Welcome back to your creativity, everybody. This is Dylan, and Steve is trying to join us in. We're on this quarantine podcasting thing, and it's a struggle, to say the least. We have a guest today. His name is Lucas Henry Proctor, and he's a linguist, horticulturalist, a singer, a performer, actor. What don't you do, Lucas?
I don't do Windows. No, no, I like to consider myself a Renaissance man. There was a great TED talk, and talked about what if you don't want to just be one thing when you grow up, and that's always been me. And so she coined this term multi-potentialite, and that's kind of what I've always considered myself. So.
I like that. Um, so what were you like growing up? What were you interested in, like elementary and junior high and high school?
Well, when I was younger, I loved the natural world, and I was a huge nerd. In fact, I didn't have a lot of friends. Books were my friends, and so I read through a whole set of encyclopedias, um, and was always out in nature catching bugs and tracking the different kinds of birds that were in my yard. Um, and in fact, I also had a fascination with the ancient world.
Oh,
I loved ancient Egypt and archaeology in general. I kind of wanted to be Indiana Jones, but then again, who didn't? you
yeah.
know. So, but I also always loved music. So I've been singing since I can remember. So,
What's your favorite genre?
oh sheesh, I like so many different genres. But I think where my anything that's just a delightful voice, and if that is a good vocal, um, sampled on a cool rap chorus, if that's a delightful harmony in an R&B music, if it's beautiful choral music, from the 1700s, if it's an a cappella cover, of a modern pop song, or just a gorgeous, vocal in some classical music. To me, the voice is just the most amazing instrument. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Anything with delightful vocals, and that
Delightful
spans a broad
vocals.
range. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Um, were you in any plays or musicals in high school?
I was. I actually, I've got a little bit of bulk on me, and so I was in middle school. I started into football, and so by the time I got into high school, I wanted to go into football, and you just had to make it through the intense, rigorous practices called Hell Week before to actually get onto the team, and I did. And and then that weekend, I had a lawnmower run over my foot, and took me out of the season. So the
Yeah,
next
that
week,
would.
I tried out. Yeah, the next week I tried out for the High School Musical, which was Pirates of Penzance at the time, and just about got the lead as a sophomore. So I decided I was going to do that instead.
It took out one end of you, so you used the other end.
Exactly, yeah. And my toe's okay now, and I can still dance. So
Good to hear. Now, me and Steve and I first met you down at Evermore when
yeah.
we were interviewing Cory Clawson. Um, Unfortunately, you're not there anymore. There with them anymore. Tell us a little bit about your experience with Evermore and what you did with them.
Oh, Evermore was a creative whirlwind. Man, the amount of talent that was there putting this spectacular park together was kind of unreal. I got pulled on by Ken Brett Schneider as the director of horticulture, to help kind of create this idea of a living garden that works around this beautiful village that they wanted to make. And but he also liked me because I'm a multi-potentialite, so I like to
Yeah,
act. I like to do all these other things too. And so I think ultimately he wanted me to participate in lots of different parts, not just the plant side of things. So eventually I morphed into doing more of the theatrical things. I was cast as one of the characters there. James Birtwistle Wickham. Inventor, scientist extraordinaire, traveler
Nice.
through portals and different worlds. Something like that.
It's a
And
very Ian McKellen voice.
yeah, I could see that. Yeah. And he he was a fun character to play, and that was a very unusual form of theatrical experience that I think people are still trying to wrap their minds around right now. So, and as with every other theatrical thing currently, aside from being digital like we are right now,
Yeah.
the park is shut down due to the coronavirus. So currently nobody works there. So.
And you also did some linguist stuff with them. Did you help create a language for down there
Well, so I did a lot of dialect work
or
with them.
dialect?
So as a voice actor, I do a lot of voice acting. My specialty is dialects and accents, and I kind of have ever since I was little. I've had kind of an ear for hearing how people speak and understanding what they say, even with thick accents, even with really cool dialects. And so yeah, I kind of helped direct the dialects there. And it was originally supposed to be kind of like a Northern English, kind of like a Yorkshire, where
Yeah.
it's like, if you're into Game of Thrones, the people from the north. So anyway.
Very nice. Um, and then now you're at the Living Planet Aquarium. Well, you are a few days a week
Yes.
right now, but back when it was normal, what was your kind of schedule there, and what were you
It's
doing there?
interesting. We have a husbandry team at the Living Planet Aquarium, and a big part of our living planet is plants. Um, and so it's fun. It's me and one other guy who take care of all of our plants, both inside and we're doing a big expansion. And so I've been helping design gardens around a cool new plaza. I don't know if you've driven by. If anybody's been in Utah on I-15 on the southern part of the Salt Lake Valley, you can't miss the giant space crab on the side of the freeway. It's 160 feet tall.
I
So
called
it's
I called the U2 claw because I was underneath it a couple of times when it was touring with U2.
yeah, yeah. And that was originally their stage. So we got permitted to acquire it, and now it's a permanent structure there. Um, and it's kind of the centerpiece for our conservation science center. So it's actually pretty cool. Aside from being something you can't miss visually,
Yeah.
we're doing a lot of fun things with it too. So it won't be a performance venue per se. I mean, that'll be an option. There is a stage that we built underneath it, but additionally, underneath the stage, there's a cool VR experience where you take this space claw thing, U2's claw, it takes off kind of like the Magic School Bus where you go and do conservation science missions.
Okay.
There'll be a lot of cool gardens around the outside. So,
And is there an open date for that? It's probably been delayed a little bit.
it's interesting. The short answer is no. There is not a specific date. Partly because we're still trying to push forward. Going in. I work on an essential staff team because we're taking care of our living collection.
Yeah.
And so, but I am seeing there's progress still happening on site. And I do get to consult a lot with the project. Having worked with Evermore and doing a large project management, um, it kind of gave me a lot of experience, you know, doing all this collaboration with different subcontractors and contractors to kind of put together this giant exhibit, as it were. So.
Very cool. I'm excited to see when it gets finished up because I love the aquarium. I've only been a couple times, but my son goes multiple times throughout the year when it's open regularly. Um, so So what's your favorite part of dealing with plants and just that kind of stuff?
Well, plants and I have gotten along since I was a little kid. And then, I went to college and studied music and vocal performance. I was going to be an opera singer. Um, and then looked at all the classes I had to take to finish and graduate. And I decided to jump into horticulture, and that seems kind of like an unusual thing. But I've always loved plants. And so I graduated in horticulture. I've been a certified arborist through the International Society of Arboriculture for 10 years now. And if this virus thing didn't happen, I would have taken a test to certify me as a board certified master arborist, which I think there's only like 600 in the world. So back to your question, the number one thing that I love working with plants is teaching people about plants. I think they're just fascinating. On Instagram, what I have an account where I just do it's called The Private Life of Plants, and I like to zoom in on different parts and learn little things about plants, because plants are so cool. They've been around for way longer than anything else in the world,
Yeah.
except prokaryotes and bacteria and mosses and stuff. But they're just fascinating, and how they've adapted to live and thrive in this world is pretty cool. Even the plants just here in Utah are pretty awesome. So.
Do you have a favorite or a local favorite of one that kind of just you see it and it delights you?
That is a good question. Being a person who loves so many things and having kind of an encyclopedic brain for plants, it's hard to focus it down. I think I have a top 5 list for trees. How's that?
That works.
I'll go through them pretty quick because it can be overwhelming. Okay, so ginkgo biloba, which people are familiar with because it's a supplement as well. But that's an ancient tree. They're pretty cool. Dawn redwood, which is a deciduous redwood tree. So it's a conifer, like a big pine tree, right? But in the fall, the leaves drop. The needles all drop, and then they come back in the spring. They thought it was extinct until about the 1950s, which is pretty cool. Tulip poplar, which is it's a magnolia cousin.
Okay.
And it looks like a big kind of maple tree, and then it flowers, and there's these yellow tulip flowers up in the tree, kind of in the early summertime, and it's pretty rad. George Washington planted a few at his place in Mount Vernon, and they're still there.
Oh, awesome.
Let's see, that was 4. And the terzel, Turkish hazelnut, kind of an unusual plant. It's very tough. And it has fruit that's edible, so So yeah, those are my top 5 trees, and I could just go on for days about plants. So.
And we're on a podcast, and you worked on a podcast that deals with this kind of stuff. It's kind of a mystery type series. It's kind of on a break right now. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's kind of noir style where he's describing all the things that are happening, and so it's called Detective Dendro. In Latin, tree dendro is Latin for tree, and so he's kind of this old style detective. He's got a sidekick. There's always a damsel in distress with a tree problem, and he goes out with his sidekick, and they figure it out. And there's a mystery break in the middle, and you can kind of at home. I mean, it's like an old radio drama, right? At home, you can kind of figure out what the potential problem is, and at the end, he gives you the solution. So it's very serialized. But he's got certain things that he really likes, and I do all the voices. And I'm in talks with the ISA. They moved headquarters from Chicago to Atlanta, and with that, there was kind of a little up thing. But I did it for about 5 years, almost 6 years, I think, maybe 6 years, and I'm hoping to start it up again anytime now. So, but it's really fun. And arborists, which are kind of like tree doctors, if you don't know.
Yeah.
They're required, like a doctor and a dentist, to get continuing education to kind of keep up their knowledge on plants. And so you can listen to this podcast that I do, and get credits for it because it's educational as well. But I love edutainment, so that's kind of my thing.
Very cool. That's what we try to do here too, is just let people know about all these cool people in the world, and you're one of them.
Well,
So back to your music, you've worked on some really cool online videos. You did one with Showman, and I saw you posted about a new one today. I haven't wasn't able to watch it yet before we recorded. Tell us about this new one.
oh, so it's a collaboration with a few friends from college, and then some of their friends as well, and one of them is my sister as well. Um, but it's a parody of Les Mis' One Day More, and just that name is kind of fun because we're all stuck here inside in this quarantine, and it's like, all right, I have to have one day more, and then I can survive till tomorrow. But it's kind of like this, theoretical. Okay, well, what if Valjean was a dad at home who has to work from home now with 6 kids at home, and he's got to figure that out. And what if Javert was a doomsday prepper, and he's been waiting for this day his whole life, and he's got, his guns and ammo and his, and what if, Marius and Cosette were millennials, and they're just like, I don't know, we can go outside. Well, maybe we can just, we'll stream Netflix together, and it's really silly. It's very fun. So, I think it turned out pretty good. But yeah, it's kind of one of those split screen videos, and we're all, there's some of us in Idaho. There was a guy from Germany, and we all put it together, and then somebody edited it, and it turned out pretty great. So I play Valjean in that one, and it's silly. So check it out.
Did you see the Hamilton, the one the other day that was on
Yes.
So Good News? Yeah, that was
Yeah,
really cool.
that was awesome. No, I do appreciate people who can celebrate things that are good, and John Krasinski is doing a good job. So.
Let's see. Who are you from? Some of your favorite singers? I saw you've sung a lot of Andy Grammer and Josh Groban
Yeah.
through my research.
No, Josh Groban and I vocally kind of jive. I never sung with him before, but someday maybe. But he's got this kind of thing where he's in this own genre. It's a genre that kind of disappeared back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. There was a genre called adult contemporary,
Yep,
and
I remember.
it was kind of like easy listening. I mean, it was like Kenny Loggins, Billy Joel, those kinds of things. Where it was Celine Dion, like they have these great ballads and other, like it's kind of rock, but it's kind of softer, but it's nice to listen to. And it kind of disappeared as a genre, which that's what happens. Music evolves. But Josh Groban's kind of got this like classical crossover voice that still kind of fits that feel. And so I've always felt like that, having like a powerful voice, but being able to fit it in songs that can be popular. I don't know. But Andy Grammer is a blast. He's just so much fun. His music is just it's upbeat, and he's got a really clear tone. Again, I'm all about those vocals. Um, Sarah Bareilles as well. Kind of have a musical crush on her style. I think it's just spectacular. She's very talented. She writes a lot of her own stuff, most of it.
And
And
didn't she do the music for Waitress?
yes, which is so good. Um, and in fact, she performed on stage for a while. They pulled her in to perform on stage on Broadway for a little while with Jason Mraz, um, which is pretty cool. So, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I love if we go to vocals, I think one of the best vocalists of our time is Freddie Mercury. The guy was not only was he a brilliant performer as a frontman, but his vocals were just spectacular. Um, and again, he was a rock singer, but man, those vocals were just epic. So
And he had so much fun with it too. He just didn't stick to one style. He just
exactly, yeah, yeah. I think one thing I've been blessed and cursed with is the ability to, and I think I said this talking about dialects, but I've got this kind of ability to mimic, both in singing and in, just speaking. But it's been hard for me. I recorded an EP album about 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, and it was the hardest thing for me to choose a genre because I just love singing so many different things. So
Yeah. Anyway, any plans for a new record, or you're too busy with everything?
Well, I think I'm super busy. I'd like to do a lot more collaboration and try and get my voice out there a bit more than I have recently, and I think I have a little more time to do that right now. So, as we all seem to find more time.
Yeah. Speaking of, how are you holding up? Well, you do get to get out of the house a little bit, but beyond that, how are you holding up?
It's unusual. My grandmother, who passed away last December, she was 100 and a half, and she was a very wise lady. And a lot of times people would ask her, like, well, how do you survive this long? It's just amazing. And she was like smart as a whip till the end. Like she just was, had so much life experience. And she said, well, when things change, when things get hard, I just consider it my new normal. And I go from there. And so it's kind of like, I think there's so many times when we look back and we're trying to figure out, like, how do I get back to where I want to be? Well, we don't have to. I don't think things will ever be the same as they were.
No.
But okay. And I think, we try and find what this new normal is and go from there. So.
That's a great way to think about it. What situations are most creative for you? With the music or whatever you're doing?
I think it depends. I mean, being that I love nature so much, there are times when I just got to get out there, and I uh, I have a claim for mining topaz out in the West Desert on Topaz Mountain, west of Delta, and being out there in the middle of nowhere, it's just like you can kind of open up and I don't know. Being in nature in general helps, but mornings are kind of my jam. So
Just very centering and stuff. Awesome. Um, Anything you want to mention that we haven't covered? We've covered Evermore. We've covered the aquarium. You're singing the arborist horticulture. Um,
I guess if we want to add one more
yeah.
thing, and it's not yet, but I am. Well, I have a couple of projects I'm working on, and they're forthcoming still. One of them is a new podcast that I'm kind of writing and producing myself, and it's an edutainment podcast about plants. And it's kind of it feels like PBS, where there's a father and a daughter, and she asks the questions that we don't dare ask because we're adults. Like, hey, Dad, do trees bleed? It's like, well, of course they don't bleed. I mean, we think that, but it's like, but it's okay for her to ask that. And then he goes to different experts. And anyway, so that's one project I'm working on. It's been on the back burner for a while, but I'm hoping to kind of put it a little more to the forefront. And the other one is I'm actually writing a science fiction novel. So.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's been something I worked on for years and years and years. But if I can get a little more consistent timing to put some effort into it, I think it'll come along pretty good. So.
Writers, I admire writers so much because I can't write my way out of a paper bag. I tried. It's just I can't get it. Well, I think we're good to move on to bonus questions then. I've got three different bonus questions. First is, what does creativity mean to you?
Oh wow. Well, I love like breaking down the word, and I think it's you go down to create. I think there's this inherent desire in every human to want to like make something, to want to create something. And I think as we get older and older, a lot of times we forget that. We're stuck in a job or we're doing stuff, and without that creativity, like we're dulled to society. That's actually something that's in my science fiction novel. So,
Very cool. The next is, who is your favorite Muppet and why?
oh wow, that is a great question. Um, I don't know. I think I've always been drawn to what's his name, the shrimp guy. That's pretty great. I know.
Oh yeah,
What is his name? Pepe? No.
yeah.
Yeah, Pepe. I mean, but 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 honestly, I think Gonzo is my favorite.
Gonzo's my favorite too.
Gonzo the Great. Ah.
He's just so weird, and he's not afraid to get out there. And
Exactly. He's just himself, and it's okay that he's weird. I think that's pretty awesome. No, Gonzo is my favorite.
then the last one in the movie of your life, who would you want to play you?
Oh man. I don't know if I could have enough budget, but I'd say Hugh Jackman.
Hey, it's a dream project, so you can add whoever you want. So if everybody wants to check out your stuff, where can they find you?
Well, my Instagram handle is the Private Life of Plants with a the Private Life of Plants. That's where I do all my nerdy plant pictures. And then my singing, I do a lot of my singing, and I'll try and upload a few more things onto the YouTube channel, but it's Lucas Henry Music on YouTube. So, and then the podcast, if you're interested, there's not an easy link to it, but it's Detective Dendro, and most of the podcast places, iTunes and Google Play, and a lot of those, you can search it, Detective Dendro, and it's a free podcast. So.
And I'll put a link in the notes of the episode.
Cool, awesome.
Well, thank you very much, Lucas. It's great been great getting to know you since Evermore that day and seeing you around at Comic-Con and stuff.
Yeah, we see each other all the time, I think.
You guys, he dressed up as George Lucas. I was talking to Larry Nemechek, a past guest, about Star Trek, and then George Lucas walks up. It was great.
Well, I got this beard. I got to use it somehow. So
That's right. Mine, I just cover up my ugly chin. I have this mess under my chin. So
I think that's what George Lucas does too, though. Actually.
I hear they're bringing him back in for some of the newer projects, which
That's
I
what they
think.
say. Yeah. Yep. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, Disney's in a weird place right now, but
I think we all are. So we got to
yeah,
find that new normal.
yeah, find the new normal. That's the yeah. Don't know where I was with that, but it's a perfect way to put it. So, well, thank you, Lucas,
Yeah.
and
Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate it.
everybody. We'll catch you next time.